Hello everyone, thanks for watching. In this video I show you how to make this cute little 3D koala cake. It's my first go at a real 3D animal cake. I learnt a lot on the way, and so I'll point you in the direction if I get anything wrong to save you wasting your time. To start off with, I used 7-inch round cakes, and I've chosen vanilla, and I'm just stacking them up using a layer of buttercream between each. I'll link recipes below to what I used. I've then cut off a flat top and taken a little piece of cake card which was about 4 inches wide. I'm just placing it on the top and using that as a template to create a rounded top. Once that's completed, you'll see I move on to the bottom part of the cake and start rounding out the bottom part too. So basically you're left with a tubby barrel at the end of it. So slowly does it, because you can't really put anything back on if you take too much off. Next it's time to give it a crumb coat, so give the entire cake a thin layer of buttercream all over, and once that's done you just want to pop it into the fridge for about 10 or 15 minutes just to let that set and crust over. And then now it's time to work on the head. So there I had a 4-inch cake board that I'd used as a template on the body, and 2 layers of vanilla cake, and here I'm just carving it into a kind of a circle shape and giving it a crumb coat of the buttercream again, and then I pop that in the fridge for about 5 minutes, and then taking some crumbs of cake and buttercream, basically a cake pop mix, I've used it to make the head a bit rounder on the top, and then you'll see I add some little chubby cheeks on the side, and the buttercream just allows that to stick straight onto the cake. So once you're happy with the shape, just pop that back into the fridge to set and harden up a little bit, and then take out your body and give it a thicker layer of buttercream all over. So this will be your final layer of buttercream before the fondant, and put on more than you need as you'll scrape it back. And then here's a little piece of acetate, and it's flexible, which is much better for using if you've got curved edges. So just whiz that around and get it as flat as you can, and wiping off any excess back into the bowl. And the same with the head shape now. So this is a thicker layer of buttercream, and I use that acetate again just to smooth out the edges. I then rolled out some grey fondant, and here you can see I'm working on the body, just pulling out the pleats and pushing it into the cake, and then cutting off any excess and using the cake smoother just to push it right into the base of it, and then a knife to trim off any excess. Now, to buff out any kind of imperfections, just use another piece of fondant and gently rub it all over. Try not to drop it and dint it like I did, but it's okay, it rubs back out. And then the same process with the head. So take the fondant, roll it out to about 3 to 4 millimeters thick, cover your cake and set it aside. And here I'm just using 4 bubble tea straws to support the head, and then snipping them and pushing them back in at the appropriate size. And then taking a little bit of buttercream and using that as glue to secure the head. And then here I'm just painting on a bit of water and putting on a string of grey fondant, and using a fondant tool just to sort of smush that in and smooth it out as best I can. You can spend way more time on getting this as smooth as you want, but I was quite happy with the result I had. Or you can just put a little dicky bow around his neck or something to cover the join. And here just some light grey fondant for the base of his belly, and then just embossing in some lines with your fondant tool just to give it a ruffled up fur look. And then here at the top of his chest some teardrop pieces of fondant, and I missed it, but you ruffle that up as well with the fondant tool. And then a piece of black fondant shaped into a bigger teardrop for his nose, and then I'm just pushing in some nostrils, and I secured that just with a little bit of water. And then it was time to move on to the eyes. So I just flattened out some light grey pieces of fondant into sort of circle shapes and placed them in the eye position, and then dragged the tool across just to make it a bit fluffier. And then using another fondant circle tool or ball tool, just made some impressions of eye sockets, and then took a tiny piece of black fondant for his eyes and popped that in. Again, all of this was secured with water. And then the legs was just two big pieces of fondant into another big teardrop shape, but smushed down at the end into sort of pads for his feet, and then cut off and secured with water again. And his arms were kind of misshapen kidneys, and they were placed on the side with a bit of water. And then for the little paw, a ball of grey fondant, and then just made a little sort of mitten really, for his hand. I would definitely suggest securing that with a cocktail stick, as it did sort of start to sag a bit after a while, but it was okay for me as we were eating it straight away. But if you were transporting it anywhere, you need to do that. And I just added a little cuff of grey fondant, light grey fondant around his wrist, and then stuck on some little leaves that he's holding. You can see I'd put some holes in his paws. I was going to make some little nails, but it didn't look right, so I took them out. Now for his ears, I used some circles of grey fondant, which I'd mixed with some flour paste just to harden up, and then for the inner ear, some lighter grey, and just ruffled them up again with the tool. After I'd cut the shape of the ear, I then inserted some cocktail sticks and set them aside to harden a little more, and then just pop on some little catch lights in his eye. And then the final part was to add his little pads on his paws. And then finally insert his ears. And just hold them in place with a little bit of water. So that was the finished product. I did enjoy making it. I would certainly perhaps do a few little things different again, like perhaps letting the ears dry for a bit longer, but overall pretty happy. So thanks for watching. Bye for now.